In November of 1979, Forrest White and Tom Walker of Music Man would cut ties with Leo Fender and his company, CLF Research. The following year, in the middle of an economic recession, Leo, along with two former Fender employees, George Fullerton and Dale Hyatt, would form G&L Musical Instruments. I think it's important to note that Leo was 71 years old when the company was formed, and his business partners George and Dale were 57 and 55 years old, respectively. G&L started out of the gate in 1980 with just 2 guitars and 2 basses, albeit with each model offering a variety of custom options, such as choosing a maple or ebony fretboard, the option of adding a preamp, and with the basses an ability to go fretless, which for some reason made the bass more expensive. Later on, certain models would even come with the ability to choose between a 7.5-inch, 12-inch, or 25-inch radius. With the introduction of G&L guitars came their improved features, such as the dual fulcrum vibrato, which, like the Floyd Rose, also released around this time, would work off a 2-point hardened knife edge system as opposed to the traditional 6-screw vibrato bridge from Fender's past. There were also the MFD, or magnetic field design pickups, that combined ceramic magnets with adjustable soft iron pull pieces. As the years progressed, new models would emerge, but the company was anything but an overnight success. While I can't confirm this, it has been reported that Leo Fender tried selling off the company in 1984 and 1988. The sale of G&L would end up occurring in November of '91, after Leo had passed away in March that same year. The new owners, BBE Sound, most known for their rack and stomp box effects, such as the Sonic Maximizer, was at that time led by John McLaren, who at one time had been president of CBS Musical Instruments, which had been the parent company of Fender Guitars from 1965 to 1985. It was reported that sales for G&L were somewhere around $2 million annually for the small Fullerton, California builder. It was also reported that the Japanese market was the biggest buyer of G&L guitars at that time. While G&L had very few high-profile artists playing their guitars, unquestionably their biggest was Jerry Cantrell, guitarist for Alice in Chains. In fact, their biggest hit single, 1991's Man in the Box, would feature Cantrell playing his G&L Rampage, which would soon be christened as the Blue Dress Guitar, due to the provocative pin-up girl sticker located behind the guitar's bridge. Under new ownership, G&L would continue to build guitars in the same Fullerton location where Leo had begun the company, even leaving his office mostly intact in tribute to the late founder. In what has arguably been the biggest news involving G&L since its birth, the factory was officially shut down at the end of September of 2025. All employees were terminated, and the factory in Fullerton was cleaned out. As of the date of making this video, there has been no official statement from BBE Sound regarding the future of the G&L Guitars brand. While there has been no official statement, the current rumor is that Fender, or technically FMIC, has bought the intellectual properties, such as the G&L trademarks, but none of the physical tooling, materials, or remaining inventory. While many videos and articles have speculated on its future and if Fender, the possible new owner, will ever resurrect the brand, I feel it's important to also establish a cause of death. In the case of G&L Guitars, I believe there were multiple factors that contributed to the company's demise. On this episode, we'll be discussing those factors as we deliver this post-mortem report on G&L Guitars. Thanks for watching. Remember to like the video if you enjoy the content, and let me know in the comments if we need to continue this series and which brands we should be highlighting next. Now, I know this channel's a little late on discussing G&L guitars, and I intentionally wanted to let the dust settle a little bit before delivering this post-mortem report. Without burying the lead, I believe the death of G&L Guitars comes down to 3 major factors, which we'll expand upon further in this video, but here are the 3 points. 1, failure to capitalize on opportunities. 2, a failure to engage with potential customers through advertising and social media. And 3, a failure to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. The first factor to discuss would be a failure to capitalize on the opportunities presented to them. We've already touched on Jerry Cantrell and the popularity of Alice in Chains during the 90s, but unfortunately, either due to Leo's passing, the transferring of ownership, or out of just plain disregard for what the public would be interested in purchasing, not only was a Jerry Cantrell model not produced until 2000, and even then in limited quantities, G&L Guitars would actually discontinue the Rampage altogether in 1991. A production model Rampage would not become available until 2009. From a visibility standpoint, Jerry Cantrell would easily be G&L's most consistent and highest profile player during the brand's lifetime. So for G&L to wait almost 20 years to bring the guitar back, the guitar he made famous, is a bit of a head scratcher to say the least. A more recent example where I think G&L dropped the ball would be in April of 2024, where G&L, in collaboration with Phil McKnight and his Know Your Gear channel, would premiere a 3-part series detailing the creation of an ASAT special that would be given to Phil to fully inspect on his channel. Overall, the guitar would review well on Phil's channel, reaching over 130,000 views. The videos detailing the process on the G&L channel would only garner around 15,000 per video or so. To make matters worse, it was pointed out by one of Phil's viewers that the serial number shown on part 2 of the build series didn't match the serial number on the guitar Phil received. Then, in the Know Your Gear deep dive, Phil reveals the control cavity, which doesn't have any sort of shielding inside the cavity. And while the soldering work looks fine, the quality of the components looks exceptionally cheap. In the video, the only thing Phil could compliment about the inside is that they went with a mechanical 3-way switch instead of a PCB-based unit. By the way, we're talking about an American-made guitar that lists for just under $2,000 here. In the comment section of the video, which again has over 130,000 views as of this recording, Dave McLaren of G&L has every opportunity to explain the lack of shielding paint, why the guitar is different from the one featured in the video, etc. But he does none of that and simply thanks Phil for his time. This series of videos did little to inspire new players and in fact exposed some of the guitar's lesser points. This was a complete fumble for the brand and again really highlights the company's inability to capitalize on the opportunities presented to them. Another factor I would contribute to G&L's demise was their failure to engage with potential customers through advertising. During my research into brands like Hamer and Dean, I would often come across multiple advertisements for G&L guitars, most of these in Guitar Player magazine. Now, I understand we're talking about a small company and the marketing dollars sometimes need to be stretched, but if I had to summarize the overall impression I had of the company based on their ads, it would be boring. Now, I don't expect them to use half-naked women like Dean, but while the early ads have a certain charm to them in retrospect, and some do a great job explaining the improvements like the MFD pickup design, by the 1990s they had begun following after brands like PRS with elegant shots of their guitar with some ad copy tastefully added alongside of it. By the late 1990s, everyone was making these type of ads, not just PRS, not just G&L, but Hamer and Dean as well. This was nothing new. When we get to the modern day social media advertising, arguably a much cheaper and effective form of advertising than print ever was, frankly, G&L treats their Facebook and Instagram pages as just a way to show off their latest custom shop builds, which is great, but again, it just seems to fail in its engagement with potential customers in any way. Just shots of the custom shop guitars and occasional videos showing someone playing a guitar or bass. Their presence on YouTube was equally just as lacking. Their own channel has less than 10,000 subscribers, and when you search for G&L, most of the videos that pop up are from dorks like me giving you their opinions about why this company crossed the Rainbow Bridge. I want to be fair and state that I actually enjoyed some of the videos on the G&L YouTube channel going over the build process for several models. But other than the collaboration with Phil McKnight, I really couldn't find any other video showing an influencer collaborating with G&L, much less receiving a guitar for review. I mean, this could all be lumped into the first factor we mentioned, again, failing to capitalize on opportunities. Think of a brand like Solar Guitars, for example. The brand was practically born, raised, and nurtured through social media, and by all accounts has been massively successful as a result of this marketing strategy. Yet, by all accounts, G&L seemed to treat these platforms like an afterthought, with maybe just a little bit of extra effort during the last year with regards to models like the Jerry Cantrell Rampage 24 and the aforementioned Philip McKnight collaboration. The last factor I believe sealed G&L's fate was its failure to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. For the record, I think G&L made nice guitars. But in my almost 30 years of playing, I can think of maybe once where I ever seriously considered buying a G&L guitar, which is quite unbelievable seeing how I owned easily a dozen Fender Strats and Tellys over my lifetime. Yet I never found myself seriously looking at G&L guitars. In preparation for this video, I really had to give that question some thought because I think my reasons for not buying a G&L guitar might align with some of your reasons regarding the brand. From my earliest interactions with the brand, going back to the mid-90s at Roy and Candy's Music in Tulsa, Oklahoma to current day, I've always thought of them as sort of a nicer and more expensive Fender with a lot more of a country music focus, maybe because of artists like Carl Perkins and the Hellcasters. Features like the dual fulcrum bridge and the MFD pickups were simply solving problems that I didn't have. I like traditional Strat and Tele pickups, and when I was younger, I hardly touched my whammy bar, and even today, I'm not someone who really puts a vibrato to use. I believe G&L spent too much time marketing themselves as a better Fender. They leaned in hard on the Leo-Fender connection, but I think in many ways that ended up working against them. It didn't help much that by the late 1990s, G&L had pretty much reduced their product offerings to Strat and Tele-shaped guitars, albeit with a variety of options. Even the offerings for the hard rock and metal crowd, like the Rampage, Invader, and Superhawk, all found themselves based on previous Fender designs. When they did stray from the formula, such as the mid-80s Interceptor, less than 100 models would end up being produced before the model was redesigned to a more Super Strat style shape before vanishing completely in 1991. It was almost as if G&L didn't want to stand apart from the crowd and was just looking to fit in. When they made the decision to offer the import line, the Tribute series, starting in 2003, they just made import versions of the USA line. Nothing special or unique other than offering a lower price point. However, this Tribute line would find itself competing directly with Squire's Classic Vibe series. And with Squire's lower price point compared to G&L and Fender's much larger advertising budget, this import line from G&L just never found its footing. Again, mainly due to the constant comparison to its older, larger, and more successful brother, Fender. In summation, I believe these three factors were major contributors to the death of G&L guitars. If Fender or whoever ends up owning G&L guitars decides to bring it back to life, I think the marketing really needs to do more than just rely on its history and roots with Leo Fender. It needs to stand out and provide something more to the player than just being a better version of a Fender. The brand would need to do a better job with interacting with younger players or just players in general, giving them reason to either play a Tribute series or just dream of one day owning a US production model or custom shop model. While the brand does have its fans and devotees, it clearly wasn't a large enough fan base to sustain the business. While the innovations that Leo brought to G&L, the aforementioned MFD pickups and the 2-point trim system, were super unique for their time in 1980, in 2025 there are a variety of brands offering similar tremolo systems and their own unique, distinctive pickups. As many builders will probably tell you, building a great guitar is only one piece of the puzzle to having a successful brand. And while G&L by all accounts made some really nice guitars, ultimately it wasn't enough to carry the brand through the age of social media. So what are your thoughts on this matter? What were the other factors that I missed here? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, let me know if there's another brand you would like me to focus on. And until then, thanks for watching, okay? I appreciate it.